If these 5 players step up for TCU this upcoming football season, the Frogs will have a successful season.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right, your team every day. I'm your host, Steven Simcox. I've been covering TCU athletics for the past 12 years. Thanks for making Locked On Horned Frogs your first listen. TCU baseball, a couple big matchups in the fall. They're scrimmages, but still some big names they're taking on in exhibition games. I did a crossover yesterday, talking with the host of Locked On Kansas State about that matchup later on the season. I'll get to that later on the show. But we start today, 5 players that if they step up for TCU football this upcoming season, the Frogs are going to have a successful year. I'm trying to go off the path a little bit. Now, we all know, yes, your stars have to play well. Josh Hoover's going to have a good season. Eric McAllister has to have a good season for TCU to be successful. The Deal brothers, I can go down the list. These are the guys that are the stars. These are the players that you expect to play well. If they don't, you're in trouble. But what I'm talking about today are some players that I've focused on this offseason that if they show up and step up and make plays, it's a really good sign for your team, and it means that you're having a successful year. I start with Nate Palmer. Yes, it's somewhat obvious, but it's the linchpin to this season in my mind. There's 2 of them. Can you run the ball? Can you stop the run? Like, it's that simple for me. If you run the ball successfully in the traditional way with your running back, lining up right in between the tackles, this offense is going to be even more dangerous than it was last year. And last season, it wasn't super consistent, but there were certainly times where it looked like a top offense in the country. Josh Hoover was sitting in the pocket making throws. Savion Williams, Jack Besh catching the ball. J.P. Richardson putting up points. In the back half of the season, when Josh stopped throwing interceptions, this was a team that was dangerous, but they never really figured out how to run the ball. They found a workaround with Savion Williams. Well, this season, they don't have anybody that can do that. Let's just be frank about it. Some of you have thrown out some names, Major Everhart, Jordan Bailey, some guys that I'll actually get to later on in this list. Yes, those are explosive players, but they don't have the frame and the body type to withstand the physicality needed to run the ball straight from the quarterback position over and over and over again like Savion Williams did. He was a unique player, okay? You didn't go get anybody like him this offseason, which is fine. There's not a lot of dudes like him around college football. But what that means is you're banking on your running back room and your offensive line stepping up. Nate Palmer, Jeremy Payne, those are the 2 guys that are going to be duking it out in fall camp for the starting running back job. Yes, Trent Battle's going to get to play. Kavorian Barnes is going to get to play. John Denman, maybe we'll see him at times. I believe all 3 of those players, though, will have limited roles and specific roles within this offense. Nate Palmer is the guy in my mind that's going to win the job. He needs to be productive. Part of it's situational. When it's 3rd and 2, when it's 4th and 1, can you get a first down? Can you pick up a first down when you have to? But also, it's just yards per carry, setting the tone on 1st and 2nd down, being an offense that can move the chains running the ball. Your leading rusher last year was Cam Cook with 460 yards, and he averaged 4 yards a carry. It's just not acceptable. And you're going to be playing a number of teams this year that are physical. SMU is going to be a physical football team. Iowa State, Colorado, Kansas State, BYU, Arizona State, and even North Carolina. I don't know how physical that team's going to be, but I know that Bill Belichick has months of time to look over this offense and dissect what they do well, and it won't take him long to figure out this team can throw the ball. We're not going to allow them to throw the football. So you have to be ready to run. And it starts up front but it also plays into that running back room. Can Nate Palmer step up and be a 3-down back? They thought Cam Cook was that guy. They figured out later on in the season he wasn't. They had to shuffle some pieces around, and it never really came together. So if you can get an established running back by the time the season rolls around, that's step one. But then step two is Nate Palmer being good enough that he keeps that job. And it doesn't mean you can't mix and match. I think Jeremy Payne's an explosive player that can be used in a variety of different ways. Again, I feel like Kavorian Barnes is a good short yardage back. I think Trent Battle has a role in this team. But you need a lead running back. That's going to be the dude that totes the rock the majority of the time. And that's Nate Palmer. He's got to step up. So that's the first play. I'm not doing this in any particular order. 5 players that if they step up and play well, is going to define TCU's football season. Secondly, Jonathan Backs. We've been talking about it for years now. He is a prototypical edge rush type of player. Tall, lanky, athletic. Can he use that athleticism to get the quarterback? The bottom line here is somebody outside of Devin Deal has to get pressure. Now, whether that's Ansel Dinboo, whether it's Zach Chapman, his brother Marcus, there's options. But I highlight Backs because if there's a big drop-off at that stud linebacker position, then you're going to be counting on Devin to play a ton of snaps. And I think the best case scenario for this defense is if somebody behind him can pick up some of the workload there and allow both of those players to be fresh, right? When Andy Avalos took the job, the thing that excited me, he has a reputation through his career of putting pass rushers in good one-on-one situations, one-on-one matchups where they can thrive and they can succeed. He has a history of being aggressive and bringing exotic blitzes. I talked to Colton Deary, TCU center at Big 12 Media Days. He told me that A.J. Rickard tells them, if you can handle what Avalos is throwing at you in practice, you won't be shocked during the game because nobody's going to throw more exotic pressures at you. Here's my question. When are we going to see it on the field? Because last year I didn't feel like that was really a part of this defense. And I understand why. I get the reason behind it is most likely new personnel, new coach. They were doing a lot of install. They were learning on the fly. The first half of the season didn't go the way they expected. And so they couldn't run those exotic blitzes because the basics weren't there. Well, this year, things should be more second nature. Okay? There should be a lot more reading and reacting and less thinking for this defense. They're more experienced. I think they're deeper. So that part of the defense needs to be unleashed a little bit. But it's difficult to do that if you don't have depth, if you don't have multiple players that you can count on to get after the quarterback. So it can't just be Devin Deal. It can't just be Zach Chapman. You need more options. There's some young guys in that edge room too that will have something to say about this. Chad Woodfork, John Schobel, Jared Martin. But Jonathan Backs is going on year 3 in this program. And really 3 off seasons where his name has come up as, hey, this is a dude that makes plays. We love what he can bring to the table. Well, it's got to pop on the field this upcoming season. Jordan Bailey in the slot. I've done a few shows about him this offseason. If he's healthy and available, he is a dynamic player. And he adds a dimension to this offense that they really didn't have last year. And it's not like they were hurting for production and for explosiveness in the receiver room last year. J.P. Richardson did his really good things alongside Savion Williams and Jack Besh. He was arguably their most consistent dude in the slot. But somebody's got to fill those shoes now. It could be Ed Small. It could be Major Everhart. But my hunch right now is that Jordan Bailey will get the first shot at that. And he is a player that has the ability to take a 2-yard screen pass and turn it into a 60-yard touchdown pass. He can make guys miss in the open field. He can use his speed to run away from players. You saw it against Oklahoma State late in the season. You saw the great one-handed catch against Baylor. This team had an elite receiver group last year. I think the running game is going to be improved, but you still need a lot of production out of your passing game. Who can Josh Hoover count on to go make plays? Jordan Bailey needs to be a part of that. It can't all fall on Eric McAllister, Jordan Dwyer, and Joseph Manjack. Which other playmakers on the field can make a difference? We got 2 more of these players. That's coming up next. You're on Locked On Horned Frogs. It's your team. We do it here every day. Five-Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com. Use code LOCKEDONGolf for 20% off your first order. We're coming up to the end of summer. If you haven't had a chance to go on the golf course yet, now's your time to do it. Your kids are going to be back in school soon enough. All the craziness, extracurricular activities, it's happening. Some days on the course, you need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. When that group in front of you is taking forever to play, and you're like, man, I'm struggling to get out of here. I'm struggling to make it through the back nine. Grab a 5-Hour Energy. Golf is about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse without chasing down the beverage cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5, hourenergy.com. You can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th. It's on one order and it cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends, trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-Hour Energy shots. Do it today. So we're discussing players that if they play well, it's a great sign for TCU. It means that this team is having a successful season. Staying on the defensive side of the ball, Channing Canada, a corner that emerged late in the year last season as a viable option. Avery Helm coming back from an ACL injury. Elijah Jackson dealing with an injury through spring camp. Vernon Glover coming back from an ACL injury. Channing Canada, and I guess Javon McIvor, but really Canada with the amount of snaps he played, he's your only returning corner with significant snaps who's fully healthy. And when I was discussing the pass rush, right? How can you bring blitzes? Is Andy Avalos going to be comfortable being more aggressive? Well, it goes hand in hand with your secondary, because if you're going to be aggressive and you're bringing extra people in the pass rush game, that means you're leaving your corners and your safeties on an island. And those guys have to step up and make plays. They have to be able to cover. They have to be able to turn and run with these wide receivers, to jam them to the line of scrimmage and disrupt routes, because you can't trust your secondary enough to bring that pressure and put them in tough situations, then you can't do it. I think this corner room could be really good, but there's a number of what ifs. How healthy is Avery Helm going to be at the beginning of the year? Is it going to take him some time to get back into that speed of the game, the rhythm of the game, all the different things that offenses are going to throw at him? Same with Vernon. Same with Elijah Jackson to a certain extent. So can Channing Canada be a solid player on the other side of this defense who's competitive, who can break up passes, who can make plays, and can allow some of these other guys that are coming back from injury to slowly kind of work their way back, ease themselves into this. The safety spot's really set. Bud Clark's a stud, man, and he knows what he's doing. Right? I like Jamel Johnson. I like Austin Jordan. I think Kylan Jackson or Ryan Yates could both be guys that step up and make plays. But if your corners can't cover, it's going to be a long Saturday. We saw it against UCF, right? They absolutely torched JT Broughton in that ball game. Made life super difficult on him. There were times last year where this pass defense was not reliable. And it makes it difficult if you don't trust your corners, then in turn to bring that pressure and heat up the quarterback like we want to see this defense step into this upcoming season. So Channing Canada, he's a key cog in this machine because if he plays well, it takes some of that pressure off your other corners who are working back from injury, trying to get to a place where they're fully healthy again. And it also just shores up that other starting spot because you got a few guys that could be the dude. But if you have some clarity there, then it allows you to mix and match and rotate those players in once the season gets going and you know what to expect from those two corners on either side of the defense. And then finally, I mean, the two young tackles, but I'll stick to the game here and go with one. Ryan Hughes. Ryan Hughes came in as a true freshman last year, and Sonny Dykes admitted he was not a player that his coaching staff saw as an immediate contributor. But he impressed them so much in practice in the offseason, during the season, that they said to themselves, you know what, we got to get this guy some reps. So he's going to be on the left side protecting Josh Hoover this year. He's taking over for Bless Harris. And, you know, Bless struggled in the run game at times, but one thing that he was really good at was pass protection. Really, the offensive line as a whole was good at that. Can Hughes handle it? Can he step into a role? There's going to be a lot of responsibility and a lot of pressure on him. And can he grow up in a hurry? Because there's no easing into this season. You're playing North Carolina right off the bat. You get SMU a couple weeks after that. You're going on the road to play Arizona State on a Friday night in your conference opener. There's not any time to learn on the fly here. You've got to be a dude from the moment you step in. And that's a tough ask. That's a difficult expectation to have, but it's also the reality of it. This is a TCU team that expects to and should be competing for a title. That's what they're chasing after this season. And if your tackles aren't ready to go, then you can kiss those hopes goodbye. So Ryan Hughes has to be a factor from the moment he steps into the lineup. Before we go to break, I saw this from Mike Buddy today, TCU's new athletic director. It was a short video of LaDainian Tomlinson, LT, dapping up Coach Sonny Dykes and handing him his Hall of Fame jacket. But he says it's not every day that you get a Hall of Famer to donate their jacket to the program. Huge thanks to the legendary LT21 for being a frog forever. Go Frogs. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, I assume they're going to hang that up somewhere. But my goodness, what a sacrifice for LT. It's not like they're just handing those things out, right? And for him to say, you know what, I want my alma mater, I want my program to have this so that the guys can see it, can be motivated by it. That's incredible. And I think it speaks to just his love for TCU And the fact that we must have a good relationship with Coach Dykes and in the new regime there, that he feels this strongly about it. So that was just a note I saw on Twitter today. Thanks to LT. I think he's coaching at a private school in Fort Worth this upcoming season. So that opens up the opportunity for him to be around the program more, which is awesome to see. Maybe he can coach up some of these young running backs that are trying to make sure TCU has a more successful run game in 2025. But awesome to see that he's still involved and, cares about the program enough that he's like, you know what? This once in a lifetime item that I have, I'm going to hand it over so that TCU can keep it safe and can also use it as motivation for the current players moving forward. So hopefully we get to see more of him around the facility over the next couple months. When we come back, TCU baseball, an exciting announcement in the fall. That's coming up here on Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. So TCU baseball, according to Jamie Plunkett, has scheduled 2 exhibition games this fall. On October 10th, they're going to play Texas A&M, and then on October 17th, they will play Texas State. That October 17th game against Texas State will be at 6 p.m. at Lupton. The October 10th game against A&M, well, that time will be to be determined, but it's going to be at Bluebell Ballpark down in College Station. So good chance to see where you are facing off with Jim Schlossnagle. It's in the offseason. It's not going to count, but great opportunity to say, okay, what do our arms look like? What does our lineup look like? Big expectations for this TCU baseball team. Sawyer Stroh-Snyder coming back, Noah Franco coming back, got some young freshman players they're really excited to see. And yeah, that's awesome that they're going up against A&M in the exhibition game just to, again, kind of see, okay, where are we at? Who can we rely on going into next year? So some more details to be fleshed out there, but if nothing else, you'll get to play A&M and Texas State, 2 really good teams, 2 tournament teams this offseason, and get a good feel for what you need to work on through the fall and then into the spring before the season starts. Yesterday, I talked with Christian Raw from Locked On Kansas State about that matchup against the Wildcats. K-State's had our number, man. Last 2 times they've played the Frogs. I mean, the Big 12 championship game wasn't ugly, but it was just disappointing. And then, that ball game in Manhattan a few years ago, a low point for the Sonny Dykes era. There have been a few others that rival it, but just not competitive. And that wasn't a K-State. I mean, that was a good K-State team, but it wasn't a great one. There was no reason for them to lose by that kind of margin. Josh Hoover, I believe it was the second start. It's coming off that win against BYU, and you thought, okay, maybe there's some juice here. Maybe they can get back to their winning ways, but it quickly fell apart. Defense could just not slow Kansas State down. Jacob Langford chimed in and said, use the 2022 playbook, knock out their QBs, but seriously, I hope we can win it. Yeah, they were very physical. I think Adrian Martinez started that game. I believe that's right, but he got hurt pretty early, and then Will Howard got hurt. I don't remember the name of the third-string QB that came in, but yeah, that was a huge factor in that ball game, and an incredible TCU comeback, one of the many incredible comebacks of the 2022 season. That game in Manhattan, I mean, it's going to be in the middle of the year, so we'll already have a good idea of who this team is and what they're working with, but if this is a championship caliber group, like, that's one you got to find a way to win. Odds are going to be stacked against you, but you have to win those tough road environments if you're playing for a conference title at the end of the season. And I'm really curious to see what Avery Johnson does this year. I mean, I think he didn't live up to expectations last season, but year 2, and Christian mentioned sort of having a new play caller, at least one central play caller with Matt Wells. potentially making a difference for them moving forward. We'll be back on Thursday and Friday. It's Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're about 20 subscribers away from 1,500. I'd like to get there before football season starts. You can also find us wherever you get your podcast.